Hello, I'm Peggy Woods. I'm almost 90 years old very soon. Welcome to my studio.
You've seen a lot of change in your life. Tell us some of the things you've done in your lifetime.
Well, I had a very adventurous child life because I was in a college town that had many opportunities to do unusual things. And I got to go up to the college and take special harmony and ear training, got to sing on the program that was a radio production. Back then we didn't have TV to teach children, but all over Alabama they could tune into the college program. So there were a lot of interesting things that made me a different kind of a child, I guess, because I was very adventurous, and I guess I always was seeking change.
And you come from a good family too.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your mother lived to 104.
Yes. And actually she came here to live with me when she was 96, I think. And there are not many people in their 80s who are taking care of their mother. I did have to make a lot of changes to be able to just give up my life and live more for her sake. At that time, I started singing with a barbershop chorus just to have something to do in the evening, and came in one night and she was on the floor because she had tried to get up out of her chair and just slipped on out. You know, those kinds of things were pretty hard for me, but I adapted.
Tell us a little bit about your dad, because he gave you some words that were very important to you. Can you tell us what they were?
My father was very, very quiet, reserved kind of a man, and mother was kind of the spokesperson for the family. But I handed him my little autograph book, we called it, when I was in the 4th grade, I think it was. I was passing it around to all my special people and my friends, and asked him to write something in it, and I've kept that thing that he wrote all of my life. I've got it on my wall downstairs, framed. But he said, "Seek and understand the right kind of life, then live." And I have kept that in my heart always, and even went back and found something when a mother moved here that she had kept, and it was a paper I had written when I was in college about what I wanted in my life, and I referred to this, and I think that I have thought about that always, especially related to my Christian life, my way of living.
How has it influenced your life?
I think I've always been seeking and seeking, or looking and wanting to be challenged. I've also been seeking for understanding. I enjoy listening to the TED Talks. Are you familiar with TED Talks? It's a program on television that they bring all of these very interesting motivational speakers in, and they make you stop and think.
Creativity has been a strong theme in your life. Tell us a little bit about what creative activities you've done.
I have always been known that I could draw, and I always really relied on that to feel like I could do something that some of my peers couldn't do, because I really enjoyed it so much too. But when I finished college, I had a major in art and a minor in music, and I went to work with a cotton mill because my interest was there, and I actually had the job before I finished college. And my job was to create dresses for women out of the fabric that they were making, because they were trading up. They were trying to get away from being known as a mill that just made bed ticking and things like that. And during my life, since I've had children and all, I've gone back to the painting. When I was living in North Georgia, I went into some of these very small communities that had cotton mills, and I didn't fit as much as I'd always felt like I felt very much at home in my little town that I grew up in. But when you go in as a stranger in those kinds of little towns, it's hard to get to know everybody. So I kind of reverted to my art, which really was interesting because that made me, oh, this new person in town. I painted a picture of a waterfall, a North Georgia waterfall, and I had it on the floor and would stand over it and sling my brush to make the falls and everything. And when I came to Atlanta, I took 2 or 3 paintings to the High Museum, to the Browse Bar and Buy show, and they would bring the paintings, judge the paintings, and bring them into their Browse Bar and Buy shop that has now become the big shop, you know. And my waterfall was chosen to stay there, so that really put a stop almost to my painting, because I said I can't do anything else that would be worthy of being shown at the High Museum.
So in your lifetime, you've been a career woman and a working mom at a time before this became popular. How have you learned to deal with change?
I think the main thing that's helped me work with change is my the principles I live by. My grandmother stood me up on a church bench when I was 4 years old, because she had spent the whole week teaching me John 3:16, for God so loved the world, you know, and I was terrified to have to do that in front of all these people. But that started my knowing that there was a direction, that somebody was going to help me, you know, that God created this world and His Son came here and all that. And I've always felt like that I had a purpose, and I needed to stay on the way, which is the way that I should go. And I think that when I say I felt like I should have been teaching all along, I think you realize when you found the place where you are most comfortable and probably most qualified.
Do you think everybody has a creative streak?
Certainly, I do. I think that you see it in children, you know, they want to do things their way, and I think, sure, everybody most people could do more creative things than they do, because it's been squelched so much. They think they can't. I got so tired of hearing I can't draw a straight line. Well, that's the most unpleasant line you could draw.
You've had many paths to follow. How did you decide which path to follow?
I think that the important thing is to follow the one that gives me the most joy. And I've learned that anytime I am doing something, I have to be doing something, I just have to be doing something. And I found that painting gave me such a release to the emotions and fears and heartaches and that kind of thing. And I was so full of so many questions in my life during the time that I just had 2 babies, really, because my children were just 18 months apart. You know, which am I supposed to do? I painted something that is kind of grotesque in some ways. My granddaughter asked me to move this out of the room because it was something that was frightening to her. But it was when I was trying to decide, I was really trying to decide whether to continue to get my teaching certificate was one of the things. And, you know, mother and wife and neighbor and big sister and all of these things, you just realize, you know, and you can't do everything.
You anticipate a lot of the problems women are having today. So if you were going to give any advice to the next generation coming along, what advice would you give?
Well, I think kind of like another reminder I have besides this one that my father gave me. I have a little plaque on my kitchen wall that says that you have to run with Plan B. And Plan B happens very often, you know, because I certainly didn't expect a year after I married to be moving to North Georgia. And that's what my husband felt like that he would be better suited to the job there. And I think everybody should be able to adapt to the kind of changes that come in their life as the different phases of their life, just like the passage of each one of the phases as we grow older is just as important as all these stages a child goes through. My teaching years, I put my creativity into my children that I was teaching, because it's a very creative profession.
Well, you've been a wife, a mother, a sister, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, an artist, you were a swimmer, you did barbershop quartet. How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a good person. I think that's the main thing. A good, caring person who lived for God and lived the way she felt like that she was meant to live, and I tried to live in this way that brought me joy, and I think that I have. I've had a very joyful, peaceful life.